Hey there, on this episode I'm going to be showing you how I'm attaching this solar panel on top of my roof cargo box for some van life adventures. The main thing to note with this is it doesn't have grommets in the corners of the solar panel, so it's going to be very tricky to install it. So you notice some solar panels come with holes in the corners, so the grommets. Basically, if you have 4 holes, you can just attach that to the roof of your vehicle or the cargo box in my case. But since it doesn't have any, I'm gonna have to glue this side down and then put some rails on it to hold it down, and then maybe a strap in the middle just to keep it from flexing. One thing I will note, you can see right here by my thumb, there's 4 holes here which holds on this top controller box. So those are the only holes in this thing. So I will take out probably 2 of those screws and mount a couple of those through those holes into my cargo box, just as a third or fourth redundancy. Now the main obstacle with this solar panel install in my cargo box is you can see it's sloped. So the cargo box is about the same size as the solar panel width-wise, but I'm gonna have to slope it down to about halfway on the slope part. So I'm gonna have to glue it down at an angle and then put some rails on there and bend those, and then drill those into my cargo box, and then put some washers and hold it all down. The reason why I bought one that doesn't have corner grommets is it was a lot cheaper, and in Canada it's harder to get solar panels, so I figured out a way how to do it without. Now the strongest tape I could find is this. This is 3M. This one specifically is the 5952 tape. There's a whole bunch of different types, and they have different strengths and waterproof levels. Pretty much all these two-sided 3M tapes though are incredibly strong. They have different varying levels of attributes you can look at. There's a whole graph, but basically this is the one I was able to get here. It has the exact amount of length I need at the cheapest price, and so I'll link this down below as well as this stuff. This is my waterproof Gorilla tape. So you can see here what I'm doing is I'm using a router, or whatever this thing's called, a Dremel, and I'm dremeling off my paint and then creating a rough surface here. That way the glue and the tape will stick to this a lot better than if I just using the slick box. This gray is what the original color is, and it's really slippery. I think the tape does stick to that, but it's better, I think, if it's nice and rough like this. If you are going to do something like this, make sure you wear some eye protection and a mask or something, because there's a lot of particles coming off. You don't want to be breathing that in. Alright, so I've dremeled all that paint off. Now I've got 4 different strips and then like a full surrounding of empty kind of rough box that I can tape onto. So I just hosed down my box. It's nice and clean. I'm gonna let the hot sun today dry this out, and maybe tomorrow I will be installing the solar panel. And if you're wondering, I have all these Dremel tools, but I use this end here. Just gave me the biggest kind of surface area to buff that off. So I've got all the tape down. Now I just need to peel it off and stick it on, but I think I'm gonna bolt it first. So just to give you guys a look, let's see here. I've got 2 strips there. So I've got all this buffed off so I can put the Gorilla tape, but so you can see I got the strips on the back, and then I put another 2 strips here, and then the center is over there. So I've decided to take this off my vehicle. It was a lot of work. I have a spare tire, you see is down here. It was just too hard. My vehicle's parked on a slant, so like trying to line things up on a slant and then trying to drill holes through it into the thing, it was too much. I had to take it off. Okay, so there's 4 screws on this thing. I attached 2 of them through the cargo box, so now it is attached on there. A huge wind gust might tear those out if it was just held on by that. So I just got it. You can see here I've got the tape off. 3 pieces of tape, and I haven't pushed it down yet. It's just floating a bit. See, I just have one last piece of tape to pull off there, and then I can squish it down and then get this part done. So you can see now I've got the rail on the right side there with 4 different screws in there, and this side, to show you here, I got 1 on both sides, and now I'm putting 2 more in the middle. And since it's an aluminum rail, it bends, so I don't need to worry about it. See the gap there? It'll push down once I screw it in. Now to do this, I'm using 2 washers and a neoprene nut, as well as one of these crimp little metal things that when you tighten it, it kind of squeezes in. What I'm talking about here is this thing, a spring lock washer. So what I've done here is, you can see I've got this, the bolt on the top. Right underneath it is the spring lock washer, and then I've got this big washer which covers as much surface area as possible. You can see I want it to, you know, not crack, and the best way to do this is have as much surface area as possible. And then that's on the top side, and that goes down in to the box, and then the inside I put another washer and then this neoprene nut. So this thing is a locking washer. It'll hold on versus just a normal one might come loose. I tell you, putting these in is a real pain in the butt by yourself. There's actually the 2 middle ones I can't reach, so I've just got them in there like really loose, and I can't reach around with both arms, one hand to put the screwdriver in, the other one with the wrench and tighten it. I just can't. So I'm gonna have to get a neighbor to come over here. I'm gonna get everything ready first, have everything completely ready, just need to be tightened up, and then I'll go ask a neighbor for help. So how I'm doing this is I'll just press this thing down, and then I look on the top there, and this hole, I don't want it to be touching, like basically I just have it so you can just barely see the solar panel in there. So when I put the screw in, it'll be touching right against it, which means all of this plus the rubber part is all overlapping over the panel. Thus it has, if this sort of flex, it's being pushed down by this. So you can see this one here. So I put the screw right in there, and the whole metal part, all of this is overlapping right to this edge here. So it seems pretty darn secure. All right, so I've got the 2 brackets up there done, and I got this one done. So you can see I just had to bend it along here. I first secured this one, and then I did the left and right at the same time, drilled them into the sides. This is like so snug, and look how perfect it fits on here. So now all I'm going to do is go around with the Gorilla Tape, this stuff. It's all waterproof tape, and you can see I just started here and just taping all around here. I don't need a metal bracket back here because the wind comes towards me. This is not going to lift up. It's the front that was the risk of lifting up. So all in together, I think this is going to work really well. When I put that VHB tape or whatever it's called on there, I wasn't too sure this was going to work, because anywhere, there was a few spots where I didn't scrape off the paint, and right away I lay it down and pull it up and it just pulls off the paint. So I was right with that. If you're going to do this and you paint your box, you have to scrape all the paint off first. I used sandpaper at first, but it was much easier just to use that little Dremel tool. There's probably a better way of doing that. Leave it in the comments down below if you have a better way of removing like spray paint off a cargo box. But yeah, that was necessary, and it is holding it down in the middle. I can see it's not popping back up, so where I did scrape it off, put that tape down, it is holding well, but these brackets are essential for keeping this thing down. That, and I got 2 screws in the back, so I'm pretty confident with this. I'm just going to go through and tape the whole thing. I'm going to tape all of the screws I've got in there too, just so it's like I'm covering it so there's no areas where water can get in. So just a tip when you're working in here, I can still open my cargo box and it doesn't fall down, but if I apply just the slightest bit of pressure, one of these will pop in, and then the other one will pop in. So really, for getting stuff out of here, I have to kind of, it's safer to either prop something like a stick or something, or just stick my body in there and pull stuff out. But when I'm working, I need it propped up, so the banana box works well. And the reason for all that is because of the weight of the solar panel now makes this heavier. Obviously, it needs a little bit of support. So this is a great way to kind of do this solo. I'll just show you here. I'll remove the box. I just need to use my elbow to lift it up a little bit here. See, so I'll remove it out. And as you can see, it does hold, but eventually it might pop down. All right, so I got it all taped up. Admittedly, it looked better without the tape, but it just makes more sense to have it more weatherproof. And I have those 2 strips of actually 4 strips of that VHB, or whatever that tape is called, underneath. So if water gets underneath, it should be able to drain under it, because there is a bit of a gap, so water won't pool in there. But yeah, I put multiple layers all the way around here, so you can see all the corners, everything's taped up. It turns out I didn't need to Dremel this. I wish I left that, but the only thing that maybe would be better if I had this blocked off so you couldn't see this, I could get like a little piece of plastic from the dollar store and cut it, and then just a couple screws over here and have it run across like this, and a couple screws there, and then it would deflect all the wind over this so it doesn't get any wind underneath here, and it would cover all this too. So it would do both, and it only costs like $1 or $2, so I might do that. Now, for whatever reason, if you get in the same predicament as me, where the solar panel without the holes in the corners, the grommets or whatever, are a lot cheaper, in this case they're about, oh, it must have been $80, $90 cheaper. I'll show you everything I used here, and it seems to work. It's really tight and snug on there with the tape and everything else. This is going to hold well. So I had a guy at the hardware store kind of help me out with everything, but machine screws, 3/4 whatever, 10-24. These are 10-24 locking nuts. And then I've got the spring lock washers. These are number 10. And the washers are these F316. Now, I may have found some acrylic paint. I don't know if it's going to stay on here, but I painted it. Just get a little wash on there, black on the front to try to hide this duct tape. I might build a little shield just because that part is visible from, like when in any footage of driving, you'll see that. You won't see the top unless it's a drone shot, but it's way far up. It doesn't matter. And yeah, so I gave it a little bit of brush. All right, it's 2 days later. I've got everything done. I made a few extra changes here, and it's raining, so I've got to test that as well. Let me show you. So you can see the front here, I did get, it's like a file folder, and this looks like a kind of a carbon fiber like material. It's not, this is plastic, but I put that on the front there, not only to make it look better, but to also protect it from any sort of rocks that kind of fly up and hit this. It won't hit the solar panel directly, and as well as just deflecting the wind off, and it just looks better. So I did that. I also, you can see right in the middle, maybe barely you can see there, I put fishing line because I had to use a screw here to kind of bolt this down here. So I attached fishing line from there all the way to the back. So there is one strand, well, it's multiple, it's probably about 20 strands of fishing line that attach all the way to the back here. So just in case it can't flex up in the middle, I don't think it would, but I just wanted something on there that holds it, doesn't block the solar power. So that's attached up near the back there. Now for the back here, I'll be covering the recovery boards in another video, but I've got my solar cables coming down. I did tie them together with some of that tape just to kind of keep them nicely organized. I got the I think these are T60 connectors, so they come down here and then it goes to the window. There's multiple different ways to get this to go through your vehicle. You can drill a hole. I didn't want to do that because I'd have to take off all the inside insulation and stuff, but I found with my vehicle, you can just put it through here, and this little gap here, if you saw my screen video, you can put the magnets for the screen that I have here, and they fit in there without hitting the top part of this. So I knew there was a gap here, and you can see I just got it in this one spot. It does pinch it a little bit, but it doesn't cut it. So that's fine if it pinches it, but you don't want it to crush the wires. The best way to test this is to get like an old audio cable or something that's the same width as that, some sort of old power cable, and then put it in there and then shut it, whether it's the front, the back, sides, whatever, and then you can check, is it cutting through the casing, or is it just kind of slightly molding it? You don't want to use your actual solar panel connectors to test this, because if it does crush it and cut it, then you've got to buy a new connector. So always use some old cable you're not using. I'll show you a few other ideas that I could have done, but this one worked the best for me, because then I can have it come around here, and you can see I've just attached it with a zip tie right there, and attach it to the seat belt, so it holds it in place there. And now if I pull this down, you can see it just goes straight down into my unit down here. Now, one thing I will note that I had to wait a little bit to get is this thing. This is a connector. You can see here it's a splitter, and it goes into the EcoFlow. The EcoFlow only has one plug like this, only one. So you need a splitter, because I have this attached in the back there. I have a cigarette lighter that charges this when I drive. And so now I have solar, which is this one, and the cigarette lighter here. So they both charge this thing. So I should note this is a 160 watt solar panel. I had bright sun the other day. It was getting around 100 watts, something like that. And this charged it from 40%, 42% up to 100 in like 3 hours, 4 hours maybe. It's pretty impressive. And now it's just perpetually always charged, because it's just sitting up here all day, even in the rain. The rain brought it down, I think, down to about 15, 18 watts, something like that. So it does go quite a bit lower when you got kind of a cloudy sky like this. But regardless, when I'm out hiking in the summer stuff, I should always have power when I come back to my car. I can stay out longer in the woods. So if you are going to do this with a splitter, make sure you get this one that has the cables that open up like this. I'll show you why, because I bought the other one and it didn't fit. Okay, so one pack, the one you just saw over there, is this one, and I got a 2-pack. So for whatever reason, if that thing breaks or whatever, stops working, I have a spare. And then I also bought this one. This is one I bought first. So it's got the splitter, this exact same thing as this, right? two, I think these are female ends. But the problem is when you try to put them in there, the little plug that goes in is wider than this actual thing, and you can't put two in there at the same time. So make sure you go with this one so you have this extra space to do that. And if you're going to do the same thing with a cigarette lighter, check the back of your vehicle. This is the very back corner. You can see back corner of my CRV, and I have a cigarette lighter back here. Now this does draw a little bit, or provide a little bit less power than the one at the front because of the distance of the wiring along the vehicle. But I just plug this straight into there. I'm not an electrician or any of that stuff, but I do know that longer the wires run, the less voltage or power you get, and that it all comes from the front. I did test it over a 4-hour drive. I'll get 100% charge if I'm charging it from the cigarette lighter at the front of my vehicle, and if I use the one at the back, it's kind of like 94% or something. It takes about half an hour longer to charge it out of the back one. I use the back one just because it's a lot more convenient. I can have other stuff charging my phone and whatever at the front. So okay, so now let me point out a couple of these spots, like I said. So this one works fine, and you'll notice it was raining and the water comes in and then it stops right here, right at the thing. When I opened it first time, there was a few drops there, but it didn't go into the car. So you want to make sure it's somewhere where it's snug and you're not going to be running water all the way down your wire to your battery. Other spots you can potentially run your solar panel through is the back corners of your vehicle here. This one was really tight, and like I said, use a cable that you don't need anymore to test it. I put this one in here and it really cut through the casing, so this would destroy the cable over time. You can see here, if we open this up, what you'd be doing is running it through like right there and then through here. And the problem is you need some sort of way to gap it over this, and this is a pretty secure connection. So I mean, some of the things you could potentially pop out one of these and see if there's a hole. You could cut maybe a hole through there. You're just kind of looking through, maybe there's a spot through here that you can run through underneath there. There's all sorts of spots you want to look for. In my vehicle, it just didn't work back here at all. The best one was in the window there. I know that Tristan from SUV RVing, he does the same thing. He runs it through his window like that. Another thing you do is just roll down your window a tiny bit. Problem is, if it's raining, then you're just going to start getting rain going in through your window. You could potentially put one of those rain guards on here, kind of will protect that, and then you can run it underneath a rain guard. There's a lot of different options. So hopefully this gave you some ideas on how to set up a solar panel on the roof of a vehicle, whether it's on an RV or a cargo box like I'm doing. This would apply to any sort of vehicle, and then wiring it through, all that kind of stuff. So be sure to subscribe and follow me for more of my adventures here, as well as van life and kind of car camping builds. I'll see you on the next one.